Hi, I'm Paul Diddy Darnell, and today I want to share with you how I got into stunts. One of the things I got asked was how I got into stunts, how I became a stuntman. And so I want to share that story with you. I grew up in Virginia. I was a big fan of Jackie Chan films, and for some reason I always loved watching the stuntmen in the background getting knocked down, beat up, and I don't know, I really thought that was a lot of fun. I used to jump off my parents' roof and really into kind of like extreme sports, although I did grow up playing baseball and basketball and tennis and a lot of the traditional sports. But once I was getting ready to graduate from high school, I actually went online to search for stunt schools because I knew I really wanted to be a stuntman. And I found a school. There was actually two schools at the time, one in Australia and one in Seattle, Washington. And so I called up the school in Seattle, Washington. I spoke to a guy named David Boucher, and I told him I want to be a stuntman. What do I need to do to prepare myself to get to this school? How do I get in? And he said he recommended that I go to college, that I do, once I'm done with high school, go to college, and then come back and check out his school. But while I'm in college, try to either work on a martial arts or gymnastics to work on my air awareness. And so that's what I did. I applied to college, I got in, I joined the gymnastics club team, which was pretty much like open gym. You just kind of did what you want. But we did have competitions and meets, and that's where I learned how to backflip and all my flips and tricks. I kind of really got into it and eventually became the men's captain. And we would go and compete at different events. It was a lot of fun. But actually, I really used the skills in there because I just wanted to be a stuntman, not a gymnast, and I took them outside. And that's where I found out about parkour and free running. And it was this whole new world for me of exploring how I could use my body to move through an environment. I loved being able to flip, but I didn't want to be able to flip just inside. I wanted to be able to take it outside and flip anywhere, and I really got into that. So once it became time to graduate from college, I still wanted to be a stuntman. My passion didn't change. So I called up Dave Boucher at the International Stunt School, and I sent my application in, and I got accepted, which I found it wasn't that hard to get accepted. But my parents paid for it and sent me there to Seattle, Washington. It was a 3-week course, I believe. It was about 3 weeks. It was interesting. It was cool to experience some of the things like an air ram, wire work, set on fire. And it was a good start for me because I knew nothing. I came from Virginia, I had nothing about film, production, movies, any of that stuff. I was kind of clueless about that. So after I finished there, they recommended either I move to LA or New York. And well, I decided to move to LA because the weather was warmer, and that's where the birthplace of skateboarding was. And I had really fallen in love with free running, and I really had connected with that. And I wanted to develop the sport. It was so young, and there wasn't any brands or merchandise or videos or apparel or any of that stuff. So I was really set on helping develop that sport in the U.S. And so I thought the perfect place to do that and be a stuntman would be Los Angeles, California. I packed my bags, moved out to L.A., and I started my hustle. I started looking for people that did stunts, training with stunt people, going to gyms that some people trained at. I did everything I could, and I got a job working as a physical therapist or physical therapy assistant at a clinic, and it was great because it was right in Studio City, and there would be a lot of actors that would come in, and performers, dancers, and there was a stunt woman that came in, and I would help work on her. And I told her about why I moved out here, what I wanted to do and become, and how I was into parkour and free running. And I had made a video actually, and I showed it to her. I would show it to anybody that would listen or watch. And she said, "Oh, that's cool. Keep your training up. Keep doing that." Well, her friend was working on a low-budget SAG film. She needed some sort of free running-esque parkour, fluid-moving zombies, in a sense. They didn't call them zombies, but we pretty much were zombies, and she needed them to be very agile. And she told her friend about me, and I met her, sent her my stuff, and I got hired. It was very low budget, but what was great about it is that they were able to Taft-Hartley me. They put me in their production. I was this zombie. I got like hit by a car and did a backflip off the top of front of a military jeep, and we were sort of like infected soldiers, and we were trying to eat people. I think I even ate somebody's neck. The movie is called Evolution. Again, it was low budget, but it was a lot of fun because I got to do what I do, and I got Taft-Hartley, so it made me SAG eligible. And that was amazing because I hadn't worked any jobs. That was my first like real job out in LA, sort of. I had worked on a music video before, but that was my first kind of movie that I worked on, and it enabled me to be SAG. And so I had my foot in the door. Fast forward a little bit, I met with the stunt coordinator named Scott Rogers for You Don't Mess with the Zohan. He was looking for people to double him for Adam Sandler. And Adam Sandler really needed a parkour double for a lot of the skills that he was going to be doing. So I met with him. He said, "Thank you very much. Do you know any people that look like Adam that do parkour and free running?" I did my best to recommend all sorts of names that I knew at the time. And he wasn't able to find anybody that he really liked. And so he said, "Paul, I'm going to use you." And so I got to double Adam Sandler, and that was my first major motion film. I connected with Scott Rogers. He actually took me under his wing and helped my career immensely. I learned so much from him, from the rigging side of it, from really what a stuntman is supposed to do, all the skills that you need to have to be a well-rounded stuntman, and that really got me in. A funny story, actually, I almost missed that job. One, like I told you, I was SAG eligible, and so I thought I was SAG. I didn't know what that meant. Well, that means you're eligible and you have to go pay your dues. So when I was hired for that movie, You Don't Mess with the Zohan, they're about to fly me out. I think it was like the next day, and they go, "Paul, you haven't paid your dues. You're not going to be able to work." And I was like, "Oh," he said, "You better go down to the SAG office right now and pay your dues." And so I got in my car, I drove down there, I talked to a representative and I was able to pay my dues and get that handled. And the next day I was on an airplane out to New York, except I missed my flight. I miscalculated traffic, and I got there and I was late. I missed my first flight. They put me on another one. That flight got delayed. Then my connecting flight got canceled. I had to sleep in the airport. I didn't get there till the next day. The stunt coordinator was so upset with me, or the assistant coordinator was so upset with me. He was just chewing me out like I was never going to work again, that I blew my whole stunt career. It was all over, and I was all bummed because I was so excited to be a stuntman. This was my first major movie film, doubling Adam Sandler. And I decided to stay in New York. I get picked up the next day to go to set, and the assistant coordinator was just like, "This is it." And then I met Scott Rogers again, and he said, "I heard you missed your flight." "Don't worry about it. It happens to all of us." And I was like, whew. So relieved that I got to stay on set and work with them. I got to work for a couple of weeks. I even got to go to Israel, which was unbelievable. And I got to meet a lot of different stuntmen and got hired from making more and more connections, and was able to transition into being a full-time stuntman. All right, that's my story. That's how I got started in the business. I hope you were able to take a little bit away from that and relate that and inspire you to help you on your journey to becoming a stuntman. Again, if you could help me out by clicking on the link below, checking out the survey that I created. It's just to get information from you. I'm looking to create a course that brings value to your life, that helps you achieve your goals. And I would love to find out more about what you would like to see in a course relating to stunts and parkour. All right, as always, live free. Peace.